Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Listenings and Lullabies, a girl dad's journey with your host, Varun Varma.
We back,
As
baby.
y'all know, my name is Vikas Sandhi, and welcome to episode 4.
Four. Ellie
We've
Cruz,
made it.
baby, 4.
We've made it, man.
Yes.
I can't believe we actually made it to episode 4, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Real quick, first of all, thank you to everyone that gave us a lot of love on our last episode. For those who have not watched it and are tuning into episode 4, make sure you go watch episode 1, 2, and 3. Episode 3, we had Varun's older brother, Ankur Varma, who's also the founder of Brown Man Therapy, on, and we talked a lot about mental health, and I think you don't realize so many more people want to hear that kind of stuff.
Right.
The biggest complaint we got was that it wasn't long enough.
Yeah, and we thought that was super long, and so that's interesting feedback, great feedback that we got, but yeah, I think it resonated with a lot of people.
Right, yeah. I think when we started, we were like, 15, 20-minute episodes, and now we've gotten to 40 minutes, and people are like, no, we want more, we want to dive deeper.
Yeah.
And we've told a lot of our audience that we're going to dive deeper. That was not the only episode Uncle's coming back on. I know one of the feedback was like, wait, I want to know what the 25 jobs were you guys had throughout high school. And so maybe we'll hit some of that. But thank you for all the love. Uncle, shout out to you for coming out all the way from Chicago and whatnot. But let's dive right in, man. Varun, there's been a lot going on.
A lot to unpack for sure,
Let's start with what everyone loves first and foremost. Zyanna, the beautiful baby girl dad. Last episode we talked about opening day happening soon. So shine some light on what's going on with Zyanna.
Zyanna is thriving. She's 11 months now. So we are full form of, she is kind of babbling a lot. And she knows what she wants. Somebody taught her pointing the finger, so she just points where she wants to go. And I'm like, cool, this is gonna be a long, long childhood. No, she's doing great. And Bhavisha's actually out of town on a work trip this week, so it's just her and I.
Oh wow.
She's very attached to Bhavisha. This was time that she's like, all right, I know mom's gone. She knows now. She knows.
She knows.
Because the other night when I had to put her down, she knew Bhavisha was gone. She wouldn't let me put her down in the crib, so I just immediately put her in our bed.
Oh,
and yes,
won.
I know.
I
know. Yeah, I know people are going to comment and be like, that's a slippery slope, and I get it, and I know. And I thought maybe before we were parent, like, oh, yeah, we're never going to have her in our bed and things like that. But it's just, when you have a long day, it's sometimes easiest. But But that was really nice because I got to, cuddle with her in bed, quality time, because it's usually when she's in our bed, she's with Bhavisha. So that was just enjoyable, right? And I didn't want to. I didn't want to get out of bed, but unfortunately had to, and things like that. And she's great. She's just a happy, high energy baby, and she has her fussy moments. Exactly. So she's doing well. But 11 months. Took her to opening day parade. She wasn't really.
She wasn't impressed.
She wasn't
like
impressed.
She
a lot of the pictures I posted and shared, she was just like, cool. Like, just get me some milk in my bed. And she loves books, more than toys. And it's awesome because we read her a lot of books, in the early stages and things like that. And she just gets super excited and screams, kind of growls when she sees her books and gets excited. So we love that about her, that she's going to be our little nerd.
Maybe she'll be an author when she grows up. She'll write some books.
So but now she also shows her signs of impatience with I have, and she's just scrolling through the book, and I was let me read them to you. Let me show you the pictures.
Through your phone, she's scrolling through the book, right?
And the phone she sees us on the phone, so she wants to grab it and stuff now. So that's going to be definitely an uphill battle that we'll have to figure out a balance on, because it's not really we're going to just be able to avoid the cell phone world and that technology world and things like that, but just kind of figuring out a balance that, we're happy with, that she can sustain and understand with, and things like that too. But we haven't introduced her to Miss Rachel or those types of shows yet. We're trying to hold that, but
Blippy?
I know
Blippy or something. That's a show
Bluey,
too.
Bluey,
and then there's also another guy.
So
you'll get there. You'll get there.
We know that's coming.
So going back to the balance part, I think there's a lot of tools out there to limit it. Now look. These kids are born knowing that we have phones in our hands.
Yep.
it's part of their evolution that it's just going to be around. I mean, we got AI robots about to come out, right?
Yeah.
So the thing, I think the trick is to balance, like you said, all of the technology, all the apps, all of the devices now come with screen limits and all of that. So definitely, I just helped my brother-in-law set his up for his daughters so that, hey, after an hour, it's cut off. You have to put in codes and stuff. And so I think that'll be very vital to the success of her having balance.
Yeah.
So that's really cool that you're already thinking about that. But it is an uphill battle. I'll tell you that much.
For sure.
But no, awesome. And wow, she's about to be 1 year old.
Yeah.
May 3rd, right? I think.
May 3rd.
Wow.
May 3rd.
Oh
yeah.
my
It
God,
is.
1 year.
It is crazy. It is absolutely mind-blowing.
And speaking of girl dads, man, we've had a couple of friends that are about to be girl dads.
Yeah, a couple of our good friends just released or announced.
Whoa! They already released.
Announced the joy and the huge moment that they are expecting, and then also they both shared that they're expecting a daughter, a girl. So they're joining the girl dad journey and train. So we're taking over. So our guest list is building up as well. So
plus one.
So shout out to I don't know. Should we share the name?
Whatever
I guess
you want to do, man.
Yeah, shout out to Jatin and Komal and Amr and Rajvi. So big congrats and everyone else that is also expecting or a girl dad too. So it's exciting.
Me and my wife Priya were talking. We were like, there was a big wave of boys being born for a while in our groups.
Yeah,
right. And now it's like just switched over to girls now.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see what happens with all of their friendships as they grow and stuff. There'll be big gaps between their ages.
Yeah.
But, I think it's beautiful. So congrats to you all.
Congrats.
And congrats to everyone out there. I know there's a lot of people working on IVF. That journey is a tough one. So keep going and congratulations to all the family.
Yeah, end of the day, it's all a blessing. There's however you get there, whatnot. It's all a blessing. It's all worth it at the end of the day. And it's.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
It's a blessing. Everything, all of it happens for a reason. I think that's awesome. That's awesome. So no, I think. Keep going. All the girl dads, share it all. We've got a lot of love. A lot of girl dads have been like, "Yo, when are you getting on me in the show?"
Yeah,
and don't worry. We're going to be rotating between me and Varun, having guests on and whatnot. And so I think next episode we'll probably have someone on. I think we have something in the pipeline. So no, that's awesome. So,
we got to figure out a balance ourselves too, because people are wanting the longer show. And,
longer
we
show.
Also have other things.
I can't sit by Varun this long. Man. Come on. And this guy, anyone that knows him, he's always working.
Yeah.
So, like, even before this show started, we had a conversation with someone else for about 15 minutes, and I'm just sitting here waiting. But that's part of it. That's entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
That's part of hustling yourself, and you have to have a work-life balance.
Right.
But at the same time, you got to make conversions, right?
Yes.
You got to make the sell.
Right.
So that's some of the struggles, too. And speaking of that, let's switch gears a little bit on the listing side, because for all those that have been keeping in the know of the real estate world, there's been some major changes that a lot of publications I've been talking about, the Realtors Association and whatnot. So tell us a little bit about what's been going on in the real estate world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, big announcement a few weeks back that the NAR settled a lawsuit about $418 million.
Wow.
With a couple groups who essentially felt that they were a couple brokerages and NAR kind of colluded to keep commissions at a certain a certain level.
Okay. Yep.
So kind of what that settlement entails is that it's now going to be it's going to be mandatory that you do not share on the MLS. Usually you have the buyer's compensation listed.
Okay.
You're no longer going to be allowed to do that. And that is still yet to be approved in about July, August, but those kind of headlines were released that, they've engaged in the settlement of that, and now it has to be approved and all that stuff. So, of course, the headlines and media are spinning that, there's no longer going to be buyer agents. Sellers don't have to pay commissions, all this stuff and things like that. So, of course, there's headline media spin and all that. So we're kind of navigating through the talking points. We are also understanding what all this lawsuit means, because the NAR is essentially an association, a National Association of Realtors, that we all, most of us that are licensed realtors, in order to practice, have to be a part of this. This board and pay dues, as well as our local boards and our MLS fees and things like that, so that we have to be a part of in order to practice real estate. So what this lawsuit kind of entails, it shares that there's what I'm excited about. It shares a lot of transparency in our industry.
Yep.
Right. So there's always been that standard 6%, which has always been negotiable. But I understand that it's never been transparent in that sense.
Yes.
To where it's like, okay, hey, we charge a 6% listing commission fee that is shared with the buyer broker, and the buyer broker is the broker that represents the buyer in that transaction. So it just shows to the seller that that fee can be negotiable. It won't be listed on the MLS, but it'll still be a part of the transaction.
Okay.
And I think that's what one of the biggest misconception is too, is that, oh, we don't have to pay these realtors, things like that. So, and what I like about the transparency part of that too is now clients, customers, sellers, buyers can now truly see
what's
our value.
Yeah.
Right. So we, the general conception or misconception is that, they assume that realtors are just the guys and girls that open up the doors and then everything else just falls in place. Right. I wish it were that easy. And I would certainly be a combatant for, if that's all we did, then yeah, what do we need to be paid for?
Right.
But we're paid in a commission basis, right? And a stat that's also been heavily talked about is that we're one of the highest in the world, in the free world, that does real estate, that we're one of the highest commission charges and things like that.
Okay.
But there's a lot behind that too. It's like, yeah, we are. At 6%, we are. But we also have to pay our own taxes. We don't have health coverage.
Right.
We are 1099 employees that have to pay for everything.
Yep.
All within the hopes that this customer stays with us, stays loyal to us. On the buy side, that it's not just a standard 30-day sales cycle, things like that.
Right.
In this market, especially with such a limited inventory, you're showing these houses to clients, and you're working with these clients and buyers 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 years, things like that. So you're working with them a long time with no guarantee of pay. So your time, your gas money, your relationship, everything, your guidance, your advice is all only compensated once the property closes.
Right.
So that is the underlining of what that stat is of, hey, we're one of the highest still and things like that. In Europe and things, health insurance is covered usually. Health insurance is covered, and you're paid a different way and things like that. So those are kind of some insights on that point. But again, going back to the transparency, is we now get to share our value, because in a transaction you need a buyer's agent. And the conversations I've been having to have with sellers, with clients that are asking about what's going on, I basically break it down to them in this scenario of, we want to list a house. Okay, great. We don't have to offer a 3% or 2% compensation to a buyer broker.
Okay.
Now a buyer and a buyer broker see this. There's no compensation. So a buyer agent is going to maybe share this property with that client, because you can see the property anywhere online these days. You've got your Zillow, you've got your Realtor.com, your Redfin, things like that all syndicate from the MLS.
Right.
So now we are as a seller not offering a buyer compensation. So that buyer agent is going to then maybe turn to their buyer and say, hey, I'm not getting compensation from the seller. Here's the compensation that I need. Now that's going to turn away the buyer, because they're like, well, I don't have the funds to afford buying a house and then also compensation for that. So perhaps maybe they're going now into a transaction without any representation if they are interested in that house still, because of the low inventory and because certain needs that they have. So now they're going into a certain transaction without any representation, or they're like, you know what, that's fine. We appreciate and understand your value. We want to keep you on as our buyer agent. So let's look elsewhere. So now a seller has lost that potential consumer. So now they're losing that demand. And in the world of real estate, supply and demand is
what makes
key.
it thrive.
Yeah, correct. And it's not, and no pricing value or price points are going to be affected by, okay, we're not offering compensation, so now the price values go down. No, in any economy, in any market, it's all gauged by supply and demand.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So there is still a lack of inventory. Yeah. Yep. There's still a lack of inventory. There is still a high demand for buyers. So it's going to be important that us agents continue to show our value. There's going to be certain agreements that now we have to sign with the buyer that is still being kind of developed and shared and presented with, the higher ups, the people that handle, because, unfortunately, even though we pay into these boards and dues, the NAR doesn't call us, say, hey, we're thinking to settle. What's your thoughts, right?
Y'all.
Exactly. We're not consulted. They just make their decisions, things like that. And I have certain feelings about the NAR, and you can Google NAR, and you can see all the negative headlines that have come out. Harassment, misconduct, things like of that storyline. Plus, then you can also see their taxes and where they're investing and things like that, and their salaries of what the CEOs and board members are taking home, and it's in the multi-millions. And it's mind-blowing, right? It's mind-blowing that we're paying all these dues. So, and the side thing of it is the NAR will be okay. What they're probably going to do is raise our board fees to cover this $418 million settlement cost. Ooh. They're probably going to raise it for 5 years. And with the amount of members that the NAR consists of, they'll get that $418 million back in a year.
Okay.
But for the remaining 4 years, they're essentially going to profit.
They're going to profit.
Right. So I agree. I agree with that standpoint that, yes, the NAR kind of set a directive that it's at 6%. There's no negotiation, things like that. Whereas if you see in the contract there, it shares where the listing commission goes to, who it's split with, and things like that. And that always has been negotiable. But I understand from the seller's perspective, it's never been opened up to, hey, it's 6%, but you're willing to negotiate. And I know that agents out there have some scripts and things like that they use to convince the seller to stick to 6% and things like that. So I understand where that where all that kind of built up and in terms of getting to this point that we're at. But I understand the transparency too, and I'm excited for the transparency. Now people can see the value, but there's a lot of misconception out there that, okay, we don't have to pay the buyer broker, they can figure it all out and things like that. No. You essentially have two parties that still want to buy a house. Mm-hmm. They're obviously on different sides of the table anyways.
Right.
One wants to get for the best price. One wants to sell it at the highest price possible, right? You take away a crucial part of the consumer base, you're now not getting much activity. You're now sitting longer days on market. And the person that is going to come on and buy this house, and be like, oh, you've been on the market for 10 days. I'm going to offer you $15,000 less, because days on market is
a metric that everyone looks at, right?
Yeah, correct.
And the sellers are basically losing leverage.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And then they see that little metric from like, man, we got to get this off.
Right.
Right. You sit there for 3 months and you're done.
Not even 3 months, 3 days, 3 weeks, because then if you're not selling in 12 to 24 hours in this market, what's wrong with the house?
Wow.
It's gotten to that point sometimes. Well, hold on. I see you've been on the market for a weekend. What's wrong with the house? Why is it not selling? And you've now, in some areas, some price points, things like that, it may be some type of dagger. And when we as agents have conversations with the potential client during our listing appointment, we talk about access and availability. Hey, we want to make sure we can get as many people as possible into this house in the first couple of days. And with COVID and everything like that, we had to navigate through that. And with, houses having 30 showings in the first day,
yep.
A lot of my conversation with clients, like, okay, let's plan our first day on market with a Thursday or Friday. You guys go out of town. You guys plan a family trip or whatever it may be.
Wow.
So there's no restrictions that, hey, I have to work from home from these hours, so I can't show the house during this time.
Right.
I can't allow the house to be available for showings this time, things like that. That hurts. Yeah. That hurts, right? Because if we can't line up with a schedule. So that's kind of the same mentality is if we start taking away the buyer compensation or buyer agent and buyer broker compensation, we're now changing the mindset and mentality of the buyers, where they may still walk into a transaction, but why would you want to be unrepresented in one of the biggest investments of your life?
And you're not an expert, right? Like you have no idea.
Correct. You're not gonna devise your own will or trust, without an estate attorney.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not going to go into some type of lawsuit without an attorney or representation.
Yep.
Yeah, sure, you can look on WebMD and diagnose your own, illness or symptoms and things like that. But 99% of the time, you're going to go to a doctor and figure it out. So why are you going to get yourself involved in the biggest transaction and biggest investment of your life and just go in unrepresented and things like that? And for a seller, a lot of these clients and consumers don't understand what happens on the back end. Us negotiating with the agents, us formalizing and understanding the inspection negotiations, getting the title companies and all that due diligence in place, lenders, back end underwriting, all that stuff, understanding the appraisal value, marketing the home and things like that. There's so much that goes to it. And I feel that a good majority of sellers and buyers understand the importance of that. But, of course, in the world of commenting and headlines and all that stuff, there's going to be those types of people, and that's fine. Right. That's fine. I encourage, people to explore that if they'd like. Not going to say, if I have a client and seller, that's going to be like, hey, okay, I don't want to offer anything. I'm going to talk them through that. And I feel confident in my knowledge of and talking points and sharing my value and getting my clients to understand my value. I think we'll be able to get over and help them understand that.
Yep.
But in the situation that they don't understand it and they don't want to offer compensation, I think it'll be a decision that I'll have to make on, okay, I appreciate your time, but I don't think this is the right fit for me. Because then that turns into more work for me. Now I maybe have to sit on this property a lot longer perhaps.
Right.
Or market it a lot longer, more costs and things like that for me, and then have that conversation of why we're not selling. And then also perhaps maybe have to represent or guide a buyer who's unrepresented through this, which causes more work for me. So we talked a couple weeks ago about, maybe I'm going to start offering a tiered commission as well, too.
Like a service.
Right. Okay. Yep. You don't want to offer the 6%. You only want to pay 2% total and no buyer agent compensation. Great. Sounds good. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what I offer for 2%. Here's what I offer for 3%. Here's what I offer for 4, 5, 6, whatever that may be. And it's things like that because maybe I get my time back, Maybe, because if I don't answer a call, it's maybe a lost client. It's maybe a buyer that needs me at certain times or a client that needs me at certain times. So I kind of always have to be on. But one thing we've talked about a lot lately is balance, right?
Yep.
Family balance, personal balance, work balance, things like that. So that may be a change for me. Great, cool, 2%, cool. Here's my cost per text. Here's my cost per email. Oh, I'm sorry, you called me 3 times after 6 o'clock. We're on a Saturday. Here's my invoice. I mean, I'd love to see the scale of an hourly agent.
Yeah, exactly. If you break that down, what your commission is over a 3-month listing, that's pennies. It's not a lot.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
Start doing it as a service, and then people realize, dang. Yeah, they do a lot.
Right. So, but like every industry, there's change, and change is good.
Right.
It's just understanding it, educating it, because the real estate industry has been under attack for years, right?
Absolutely.
There's been ways, okay, let's do iBuyers with Zillow and everything online. There's been Home Shake. Hey, no realtors involved, just buyer and seller. You just have to pay this and this. But when people get to that closing fee, they see like, holy heck, what are all these fees? Oh, this fees to this, this, and this. And like, oh, maybe I should have involved a realtor and things like that. So there's people out there that want to feel that they can do it themselves, for sale by owners, those types of things. All good. Do that. If it goes well, fantastic. Not to say that, you can't have a successful real estate transaction without agents involved, right?
Fair. Yep.
But more likely than not, people will understand, appreciate, and realize the value that we have of negotiating. Because no seller wants to be on the direct call with the title company, the lender, understanding the appraisal, then negotiating the inspection themselves, and no buyer wants to do that either. They don't know what that means. They don't understand, okay, is this a true defect or is this a material defect that can be resolved later and things like that. So it's going to change I think for the good, but we're going to go through this little period of understanding and realizing the value and guiding everyone through and things like that. So, Yeah, big announcement for sure. I could talk a lot about that.
Yeah, we can tell.
Yeah, so
and part of this is called Listings and Lullabies because we want to shine light on the expertise that Varun has in the real estate market, right? And I think going back to some of the points you were making is, in general, I feel like people are losing their patience. And on the flip side, everyone thinks they're all of a sudden now an expert in a lot of things, right? Oh, I can buy my own home. I can sell my own home.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to tell you all one thing. Leave the expertise to the experts.
Yeah.
You ain't a doctor by going on WebMD and all of a sudden knowing your symptoms. You're not going to read a couple of articles on Zillow or Realtor.com and all of a sudden be a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Let the experts do their jobs. And you said transparency. I know that's a big value for you. And I know in the past, you actually have a chart where you show the breakdown of what your commission is.
Correct.
How it gets funneled to, your brokerage.
Correct.
What you make and what all your costs are. And I think that's important to show that because people will be in their heads all day thinking, oh, yeah, well, you're just pocketing this money and it's going right in your bank account and woo-la. And they don't understand what goes into it.
Right.
And so I think shining light on this and having this be part of episode 4 is very important.
Yeah.
And for anyone that wanted to contact you to learn more about your expertise in real estate, how can they get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me, cell, text, email.
Boundaries, bro. Boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
Boundaries, all right? Boundaries.
Yeah. Well, I may be going to banker hours soon, 9 to 5, if people aren't willing to pay for compensation.
That's true.
I mean, I'm all for it. But that's going to change what my service level becomes, too.
Yes.
Right? Because it's not going to be where I offer the same due diligence and the same level of service for, little pennies. Because at the end of the day, I have to realize, okay, where does this take me away from? Does it take me away from another client?
Yep.
Does it take me away from my wife, my child, my family, my friends, my personal health and mental health, things like that? I blame all my clients right now for the reason I'm not going into the gym consistently. Yeah. So you are the reason. I'm just kidding.
Let Varun go to the gym.
Yeah, let me go to the gym, man.
Come on. Either early morning or in the afternoon.
Yeah, we got family photos soon. This round, pudgy face going to be on camera. So,
man.
But, So it's going to be good for transparency in a lot of different ways. Clients will understand our value and understand the true breakdown because, yes, great point. I do. In my buyer consults and my listing consults, I have a page or two in there that breaks it down to show here's your costs, here's a seller, here's your cost as a buyer, here's your cost as a seller, and then here's all the costs that I take on, here's everything that I offer, here's your breakdown of proceeds, and, where does all my commissions go? I have a brokerage split that also takes out of that 2 or 3%, whatever it may be, and that 2 or 3% I'm talking to about what's given to my broker as I represent either the listing or the buyer brokerage. Actually, let's take a step back. Let's break it down. So, compensation overall, the average for a long time has been 6%. That's been the industry standard, which was kind of under attack in this lawsuit. Right, that has been always negotiable. I've negotiated that with customers and clients that have asked. We've talked through how that is, but some people that brought this lawsuit up felt that they weren't offered that ability to negotiate that. So let's just break it down. So 6% goes to the listing broker. Let's say my brokerage is representing the seller, so that would be Coldwell Banker. Okay, the buyer broker could be any brokerage. Okay, it could be Huff Realty, Sipsy Klein. Remax,
all of those,
any brokerage that you guys have seen or are represented by. So that's 50% of that 6%. So 3% goes to the buyer
directly
brokerage.
to them.
Yep, directly to them.
Wow.
So then of that 3%, my brokerage take Coldwell Banker, and they offer me a commission split agreement that I have with them. So they take their cut, which allows me to have an office with them, which allows me to operate under their name and brand, and their administrative assistance and their guidance, and kind of have that backing for brokerage purposes, right? And then we've got my time of marketing, advertising, social media, open houses, networking, photography, videography, my staff, my employees to handle all the documents, things like that. So we've got a breakdown of that. And then that all comes in payment at closing, right? So it's not anybody that's writing me a check up front for the fees based on the listing price or anything like that. So all that time and effort and cost, I pay out of pocket up front.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
Then you got Uncle Sam.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Good old Uncle Sam.
Yeah. So I'm a 1099 employee, right? Most of us agents are 1099 employees. So I don't get a W-2.
Yeah.
So everything that I have to pay is all taxed out of pocket. So April 15th, which is a tax day coming up, that's not a good day for us entrepreneurs, self-employed individuals.
The amount of money tax due.
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
ouch.
it's pain. So, and that's always April's always birthday month, and so I got a big check coming out in April, and it's you know
more money coming out.
So yeah, exactly with the birthday celebration. So yeah,
I can't believe we've gotten this far in the episode and we haven't talked about Varun's birthday. For everyone that knows Varun, his birthday month is like an absolute like.
Yeah,
it's madness. It's a lot of fun, but it's madness. But I guess before we get into the birthday month, anything else you want to add on that commission?
No. So that's kind of an overall breakdown, and I take the time to go through that with my buyers.
And that's beautiful that you're sharing a
that.
lot of knowledge and wealth right now on this podcast. Like you could literally get the update on what's going on and a commission breakdown right here from episode 4.
Correct. So, and you know what's not shown or shared in all that is the time of negotiations, the inspections, walkthrough,
the behind the scenes,
meeting with contractors to get quotes, to present as substantial evidence to share as to why we're offering or we're asking for this credit in repairs or for this repair, things like that. So that time and effort and energy and cost all goes into everything that we handle and negotiate to get our client the best deal, right? You got one person who's on, like I said earlier, seller, who is trying to get the most out of their house and their asset. Then you've got the buyer who's trying to get the best deal possible. And how we get everybody to the table so that they feel it's a win-win when you've got essentially two people on completely far ends of the opposite sides of the spectrum, right? This guy wants the best deal. This guy wants to get the best deal. How do you bring those two people together, right?
Everyone's got to sacrifice a little bit, right?
Exactly. So that's kind of a breakdown of the commission splits. That's kind of a breakdown of the NAR settlement. But yeah, feel free to contact me if you're someone that's, working through this. Maybe you're another agent trying to understand. What I've been fortunate and thankful about is the networks that I'm in and that a lot of our agents are in and the brokerages that we have, they offer some guidance and support and understanding of all this to help us educate our clients, because the ways our clients will be comfortable, and our role is to help our clients feel comfortable and stay positive, right? In a shifting market that's changing, that's their unknown of, right? Their careers are their own careers. We operate in this real estate space on the daily, right? So our goal and objective, aside from everything else, is to help them stay educated, knowledgeable, and comfortable. So that's kind of a little breakdown of everything there.
No, that's awesome. So anyone wanting more information, you can go to varmarealtygroup.com. You can also follow him on Instagram or Facebook at Varma Realty Group. You'll obviously get in the subtitles and everything here and on our website. But no, we appreciate you breaking that down. This was a heavy listings episode, I think.
Sure, yeah. But I mean, it's going to be a heavy listings episode, this one, because I've been excited to talk about that and then we're in the spring market. We're in the spring market after a down year. A down year meaning, not a lot of people went to market because interest rates shot up. Buyers decided to hold off and see what happened with the market because we were at 7.5% last year.
Wow.
We're kind of a little bit down, but rates haven't just dropped significantly. But people realize, okay, this is the norm now. And life still happens, right?
Yeah.
People have kids, right? People have kids. They're like, all right, I'm living in an apartment. I'm living in a small house. Now I got to move up. People get married, right? People graduate college and want to stop renting. Divorce happens, things like that. Families separate, so they need to downsize. Empty nesters, all that stuff. Life still happens.
Life happens
that you cannot avoid. And when life happens, first thing or one of the top things that gets affected is your living situation.
Yeah.
So people still have to buy and things like that. So the market is still strong, and we're heading into a spring market where people are now coming out of this cold winter, ready to get their house on the market. School year is wrapping up, so they want to move during the summertime. We're ramping up. And I mentioned a couple other episodes. February was one of my strongest months to date in my career. March and April closings are kind of strong there, and I've got some listings. exciting news as well. This is actually another record. So I just secured a listing in the Villa Hills, Northern Kentucky area.
Oh, nice.
For the highest price point that I've ever secured, and that's we're still floating the price point, but it'll be a couple million.
Wow.
So
amazing. Man.
So and yeah, what people who our listeners will probably already imagine, they'll do the calculations. Like, all right, so he's 6%, 3%. Oh, dang, right? No, that's not the case.
Yeah.
I negotiated with this agent, or I'm sorry, the seller, of what that listing commission will be, because the higher price points, that commission, let's say we're at $3 million, 6%, you guys can do all the math. But that's not the case in this this situation.
Okay.
There is a reduced commission that will be offered to my listing broker and that we'll have to share with the buyer broker. But there's still a lot of costs that I have to put in.
And that level of a listing requires another level of service, right?
Correct. You have to do more high-end things. So, and over the last week and a half, since I've met this client and I was able to secure the listing agreement, I've had a lot of meetings over there of planning, prepping, staging, decluttering, things like that, guidance that we have to do, because this is a 11,000 square foot house.
Wow.
Right? So there's a lot of things, and these clients have lived in there for 6 years, right? So there's a lot of things that you have to do to get your house ready. And we offer that service and guidance of, this is what the buyers like to see. This is how we want to help them focus on the wow factor versus get sidetracked onto this thing over here. They want to focus on the wow factor and how we get the picture set up. And now how we're doing listing photos, but I'm bringing in a high-end photographer that focuses just on luxury standpoint of it. So we can highlight the details. So that's going to cost more. I'm going to do a huge broker's open house.
Yeah.
Do an event type theme to bring in
the
all
food and the entertainment maybe and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of costs and things like that. So it's a calculation that I'm like, okay, yes, great listing. And I think there's a great opportunity for me to help, leap into that next market, which I'm excited about, because if we can sell it for the price we're shooting for, our target, it will, reset the market for that neighborhood. And that's what has been happening over the last couple of years with COVID, with the pandemic, with the high buyer demand and low inventory. Each area, each neighborhood, each market has been resetting, and then neighbors were like, oh, dang. My guy over here sold it. My neighbor over here sold it for this price. All right, I'm going to sell it for this price. Things too.
Right. So it keeps upping the demand.
Right. So I'm hoping that with the marketing plan I have in place that I'm working through to get in place is going to help me, build up that experience into this, because it was up against myself and another experienced agent. In this price point. So what I kind of helped convince this seller to go with me is because, yes, while I don't have that experience, I'm hungry. I'm a hustler. I'm ready to go. I'm motivated because this is the next phase in my career that can take me to that next level. And yes, it is a chance that this client is taking on me, because in this neighborhood, there's a lot of high-end agents that do a lot in that area and market. So easy decision could have been, all right, I'm going to go with this other person, because they know the market, they know the neighborhood, they may have a bigger, broader network in this price point, but he took a chance on me, so I've got to prove my worth and I've got to deliver. So there's a lot of kind of weight on my shoulders that will definitely kind of affect me for the next few months until I can get this thing sold. And there's no guarantee.
Right.
There's no guarantee
all this money you're going to put into it may not, you don't know what's going to happen.
Correct. There's no guarantee that there's this high price point that is resetting the comps in the neighborhood. People in this price will be like, yeah, I don't care to do that. I don't want to be the buyer that resets the price. So all this stuff that I do for marketing, there is no guarantee of compensation that's going to come back to me. It could be where we're sitting on the market 6 months and the seller's like, you know what? I'm going to take it down for market. I'm going to reset and let's see what happens next year and things like that. Because because they're not necessarily in a huge rush to sell. They're in the phase where the reason they're selling is in the works. So, they're not super motivated, like we've got to sell right now and we need to sell by this date, things like that. So, but they feel that this is the best time to sell for their timeline, their family, and where they're at. And so awesome. It's all a big risk. Like, yes, it could get me into the thing. It could get me into that market. But then I could negatively look at it like, okay, you tried to sell it for 6 months. You didn't sell it. now we're moving on to another agent, and then I'm now lost in the wind because people will see my name and see that, oh, you couldn't get it done.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Whether and I can't sit here and it's like, well, it was overpriced or the layout was this. Right. I can't talk negative about a property that I'm, and not to say that there is negative, but it's a lot of risk. And on this high end space, yes, the commission is a little bit higher, but there's a lot more costs that I have involved and a lot more time and demand that is required of me. So that's no guarantee because, again, on the listing side, there's no guarantee that all these dollars and time and effort and energy you spend with these clients and with the networking, with the open house and conversations and negotiations, there's no guarantee that that house sells.
Wow. Well, man, that was a lot of knowledge drop right there. Well, best of luck on this new listing and all of your listings, buyers, sellers, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn more, VarmaRealtyGroup.com.
Yep.
Real quick, see, we're already at a 40-minute episode.
Wow,
already,
yeah,
just like
wow,
that.
yeah. And you
Tell it. So birthday.
Yeah, birthday month. Birthday
What's
month,
going
baby.
on?
Let's
What's
go.
going
It's
on?
changed, right? Shoot. I mean, you've been around. My birthday month has been months, right? We party, and obviously Bavish's birthday, April 28th. My close friends, Devesh and Ami, theirs are also in
Coming
between.
up.
So
Yep.
it's been our birthday month. But, it's changed because usually Devesh and I would have a birthday week, and, it would just be us. We'd go go-karting, we'd go out, we'd hang out, things like that. And it would just be a week of just debauchery, right?
Shenanigans.
But that's changed, right? He's got 2 boys. I've now got Zyanna. We've got other important things. Work is busy, so it's kind of just dwindling down to birthday day. But we still try to stay high energy and enjoy, hang out. But I like to do something big, and we're doing a bourbon trail.
Yep, bourbon trail.
This
First
weekend.
time going to the bourbon trail this
I like
weekend.
to, we all get together, and
it is fun.
does.
It is fun.
It does, go to my, that center of attention need that I have. But
I'm glad you said it.
Yeah.
No, awesome.
Yeah, so
man. Well,
I'm excited, but it's a little bit different birthday month this year, right? Because
so our next episode, we're going to recap all the shenanigans and everything we have for birthday month. Well,
for
awesome,
sure, yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want to hit? This has been a great episode so far.
I don't know.
Again, we're breaking
opening
records.
day was a blast. We had some great weather. Now we're going into some crazy tornado weather and things like
everyone
that.
Stay
So
safe
we're
out there.
Yeah, we're navigating through that, and April's usually kind of like that, right?
Yeah,
I think
it is. April showers bringing May flowers.
But
right?
but Reds are looking good.
Yep,
you
they
know,
are. On pace to win 108. I think.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, if the season ended today, we'd be in the playoffs, baby.
We're in.
Yeah, stop the count, right? Stop the count.
Yep. Awesome.
But no, it's been good, and we're just kind of seeing how the rest of this year pans out. Zyanna's birthday is in a month, so we're planning that, doing some family photos. So yeah, life is crazy.
Is moving.
Life is moving. Yeah.
Life is moving.
So that's it's insane. But I know everybody else is going through a lot too. So
Yeah. Well, awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on and spending so much time talking to us about real estate and everything going on with your journey in life. And so thank you, everyone, for listening to episode 4 of Listings and Lullabies, A Girl Dad's Journey with Varun Varma, your host. Please follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We've got our podcast streaming apps that are showing all of our episodes. Check us out on YouTube and at our website at girldadspodcast.com. And we'll check y'all on episode 5.
Yeah,
Thanks
you, everyone. And please share the feedback. And any agents that watch this episode or listen to this, I'd love to see your input and feedback, because one thing I'll leave you all with, the way I look at real estate and other agents is not as competition but collaboration, because I think if we're together, we can help improve the market and improve our industry. I'm excited by this ability to have transparency in our market and see where this changes and grows our industry. So
awesome.
With that, appreciate you all. Thanks for staying tuned, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yep. Thank you all. Peace.